Mayo against Galway this weekend. How do you think that's going to go?
It's going to be close, I would think. Especially with Mayo on the third game now in a row. I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be very cagey. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think with it being knockout, I think Galway are going to be even more cagey. I think they'll revert to type. I think they'll go defensive. I think they'll leave 3 up and try and do what Roscommon did to Mayo in the Connacht semi, and try and catch them on the break. They'll try and turn them over. They'll do the blanket and try and turn them over and do them on the counter attack. That's what I feel.
So, like, both teams are coming into it in some ways similar scenario. They're relying on probably injured stars to come back and get form. Like Damien Comer made a comeback, ran it down. Cillian O'Connor came back the last day. Both teams have a lot of injuries, or certainly did in their last outings as well. So they both don't seem to be kind of flying.
No, they don't. And I suppose, look, I said this during the league. I suppose James was trying to blood as many young lads and players as he possibly could into the squad and into the team. So for this moment, you're always going to get injuries, but obviously with Mayo, they've had 3 high-profile injuries with Diarmuid and Matty and now Leroy, which is a massive loss. I don't know who's going to pick up Shane Walsh.
And Aidan O'Shea is
a doubt. I think he'd be okay though. I think he'd be okay, but I don't know that yet. But no, it's going to be a huge battle. There's so many questions that have to be answered. Who's going to come in instead of Leroy? Who's going to pick up Shane Walsh? Who's going to pick up? I suppose Harry will probably pick up Comer if he comes in straight into full forward. I'm looking forward to the likes of seeing Cillian and Comer if they both start on Sunday or on Saturday. See what they bring, because they're 2 big players for both teams.
How much damage would it do to the team to get knocked out of the qualifiers again this year and not even get the Super
8? I think it'd be a huge blow for Galway. I know Mayo have a national title, and I know people say it's only the league, but it's still a national title. I think Mayo have blooded more youth into the setup. I think this is kind of Kevin's 5th year, 5th or 6th year now. This moment in time, so he's kind of brought them to each stage. And now if Galway get knocked out this year, they would have seen to have a backward season. And now look at it. It's both this huge. That's why it's going to be so good, because both teams, the stakes are huge. Football finished. What is it now? The 4th of July, whatever Saturday evening is, 6th, 7th of July. Football's finished for the year, and both teams certainly they'd be looking at themselves to going into early August definitely at the start of the season they'd be looking at to go into early August.
Is it frustrating looking at Mayo, because we saw pretty close to the strongest team during the league, and especially towards the latter end, they're flying it. They won the league. Now it's nowhere near full strength Mayo, so it must be frustrating to watch them try to stay alive in the championship.
Yeah, I just think I think they have to be a bit smarter in terms of, they're not at full strength, but you're still replacing obviously Leroy. Johnny Vaughan will probably come in wing back for Leroy. That's not a bad replacement. You have, there's supposed to be big talk about Michael Murray coming in from in midfield. He's supposed to be a very good prospect coming up. See the likes of Darren Cohn improving this year. He's been a huge plus for them. Cullum has come back into the team as centre back, and I think he's given them such a kind of safety blanket. Against Armagh, he cut out a lot of balls. He was kind of the +1 at the back. He was kind of covering their Armagh kicking team, and they're trying to utilise their full forward line. It was very dangerous, and Cullum cut out, I'd probably say 3 or 4 of them balls, and because of that they tried to run the ball a bit more because they couldn't get it inside. And he's a big figure for them, for the defence, because I know they use Michael Plunkett against Roscommon, but when you're coming in, it's your debut season, you're more kind of single-minded. I have to mark my man here. If my man scores, James could be taking me off here. Cullum is 6-7 years behind him. He's kind of, and that's no fault of Michael. It's just human instinct. It's human nature. Like, Cullum is the other side of, right, I have to get back, be the +1. If my man is involved in the play, he's that experience, and he's bringing that to the table.
Are they really because they're having to go through the back door and they're getting the injuries, albeit some of those were picked up in training? Are they really suffering for losing to Roscommon when that game was there to be won?
Yeah, hugely. James, I know this, as in he does not want to go the back door, and you know it was a huge negative that they lost against Roscommon, and it was a huge step back. Now, like, this is a huge battle for Mayo this Sunday or this Saturday, because it's the third week in a row, and people say if Mayo lose this game on Saturday, they'll be like, oh, it's the old legs, they're finished and all that. But like it's going to be 3 really tough games in 3 weeks in the space of 21 days. So that's a massive ask. Galway are going to be fresher coming into this game. But people say Mayo are more battle hardened. But like, it's just, I just think it's so hard to call. Like, you know, someone said it's the first time it's a knockout game between Galway and Mayo for
20
years. So that's why it's going to add a bit more spice to it.
How much do you have a dislike for Galway?
Put it like this, I went to a primary school in Galway, and I got selected for Galway primary schools, and I wouldn't play for them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Honestly, I wouldn't play for them. So I'm on the border of Galway. I'm about probably a half a k away from there. So I absolutely, you know yourself, like I know Tippin, who's your Kilkenny.
We're surrounded by
hatred. Yeah. So yeah, I'd hate Galway more than I'd hate Roscommon. Like.
Would any game that you played in against Galway really stand out as a time, well, just memorable for any reason, good or bad?
Probably 13, because it was the highest margin that a Mayo team ever bet a Galway team in history. And I remember James saying after that game that we've kind of changed things, or the outlook of this Mayo team. That was in 13. You know, there's been so many battles. Like, I remember back when I was young in the mid-90s, there was huge battles in Tuam Stadium, and we were going to them games. Any day you beat Galway, it's a good day, and it's going to be tight now on Saturday.
What are you most worried about from Galway?
I'm worried about basically their counter attack. I'm worried about
the likes of Brannigan, Shane Walsh.
Yeah, Brannigan, Shane Walsh. I'm worried that like Roscommon caught us on the counter attack. I'm worried about the high press. If one of them, even if you know, Mayo are doing a high press, that's fine. But like, if one of them gets slipped, even from 50, 60, 70 yards out, if there's an overlap, we're very, very exposed. I'm afraid that, you know, there has to be some sort of defensive structure. The wing backs, they can't, you know, be bombing up. Like, if they feel that they're not going to be involved in the play, we'll sit back beside Cullum in centre back and have 2 in the half back line at all times. Do not get exposed. If you leave one guy in the half back line, as we all know, and the centre forward, I know, like, Galway are going to have 3 up front the next day on Saturday. They're going to sit Shane Walsh at number 11. They're going to have Comer and someone else inside, and the other three forwards are going to be back in the blanket defence, and they're going to try and turn them over, hit them on the counter, and Shane Walsh is going to have that 45 over and back laterally. He's going to have huge space. So like, Mayo have to be conscious from the defensive structure, and from an attacking structure they have to be very conscious of what everyone, as in their plan, as in everyone has to be on the same page, as in if you're not involved in the play on the far side, well, you know, don't be getting excited. The ball's going to come over here. Be patient and wait for the ball to come to you. You know, touch them sidelines, as in spread the play, and try, you know, as in don't go into the tackle, and try and spread them up the wings.
But Keegan looking like he's out.
Yeah.
Like, so often he's the man for all occasions. So in the past he's marked Michael Quinlivan at full back, Sean Kavanagh, Enda Smith out midfield. He went in on Rian O'Neill the last day for a little while. So he's not there now. And like, maybe be unfair a little bit to single out anyone, but Keith Higgins doesn't seem like he's at the top of his game. Andy Moran was taken off at the first half as well. Yeah. It just feels like a lot of the players who were leading the line for so many years aren't at the top of their game.
Yeah, but we'll say with Andy, we'll say Darren Cohen is kind of taking that mantle on. We'll say with Keith, the one thing I'll say about Keith is like against Roscommon, he was exposed. He was basically, that third man came out on the 45. Colin Craig, and literally had the whole. That's what I mean. There was no structure. There was no one beside him to mark one of the sides, and he was exposed. And it's very hard to mark someone when they have so much space. But like, they'll be look at. I know they haven't been going in 4 or 5 years. They'll be gunning for this game. James will be gunning for this game. You know, it's just the matchups now. They'll be thinking about the matchups this week Who are they going to put on? Shane Walsh, that's going to be a big one. My hunch would be probably Paddy Durkin. Who are they going to put on? Comer, probably Brendan Harrison. Brannigan's another guy. Johnny Vaughan will probably go on him. But Ado, as you mentioned at the start, Ado is going to be a huge factor. If he doesn't start here now, it's going to be a huge negative.
It's funny, he's such a lightning rod for criticism, and but also he gets a fair bit of praise from other people as well. What's his form been like?
I think he's been probably one of Mayo's best players this year. I think midfield has suited him well. I think he's more suited to when he's facing goal. When he's back to goal, he probably struggles a small bit, and not even that, I suppose. When he goes into full forward, there's usually a +1 back in front of him. So, I think he links up play quite well. He's a primary ball winner. If Mayo, you can see it against Down, for instance, and Armagh. Whenever they're in trouble, Clarkey just lumped it on top of Ado, and you're 90% sure he's going to get that ball.
What did you make of the goalkeeping situation this year? So Rob Henley started against Roscommon, didn't happen for him. David Clarkson.
It was a tough one. It was a tough one because the two boys are any other a bit like Dublin actually with their own goalie Michael Savage. Like if he was with any other county, he'd be in goal. Like he's an absolute phenomenal goalie. Same with Robbie and Clarkey. Like it's just unfortunate that they're in the same bloody county. But it's just a toss of a coin, and I'm afraid in that goalkeeping situation, whoever makes a mistake, you're going to get punished for it, and that's just the way it is. Like, and it's unforgiven, and Robbie has paid the price. So
if you were to call it this weekend, Galway Mayo, what way are you going? Down in Limerick as well, where you've played before with Mayo.
In 14, oh man, it's going to be so close. I actually don't know. I'm a bit fearful. I hope. I think Mayo's experience will come to the fore. I think they'll just edge it by a point or two. Yeah. I think if they play smart and they don't get sucked into Galway's counter-attacking football, and they don't get turnovers, and they're happy with being patient with the ball, and if it's 5-4 at half time, they should be happy with that. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to be a spectacular game.
If you were to look at Donegal then, who've won Ulster this year, Stephen Rochford, he's gone in as number 2, we'll say, as coach. Last year he was kind of almost sneered at in a lot of ways. There was all this talk about kind of lions led by donkeys, this kind of talk in the previous couple of years. Whereas now he's been spoken of as a tactical genius.
It's fickle, isn't it? Yeah. It's very fickle. And look, I suppose Stephen was there with Mayo for 3 years, and again, if he got over the line in 16 or 17, do you think they'd be calling him a donkey in 18? Absolutely not. So it's just them fine lines. I suppose he was coming by the 3rd year. He was. There's a natural shelf life to every manager's career in one county, and I suppose it was just the natural conclusion for Stephen. That third year it was coming to an end, and the fact that it didn't get over the line 16, 17 obviously affected the team. When you're winning, like the likes of Gavin, when you're winning, it moves on because everyone's happy and everyone's. But when you don't get over the line, people are looking for something different. And we need change. And fair play to him, he's gone up to Donegal, and obviously he's supposed to be a very good coach, a very good trainer, and he seems to fit in, and it's probably a new lease of life for him as well up there. A new way of looking at things, a new perspective. I know obviously Ulster football is much different, so I'm sure he's enjoyed the challenge.
Would you mind, as a Mayo man, him going to another neighbour? Or are you like, they're in Ulster, they're in a different province, so it's not the same as going to Galway, for example?
No, he couldn't go to Galway. He couldn't go. If he did, no, it'd be. He managed Cornfield, but obviously club is a bit different. But yeah, exactly. He went to Donegal. I think he's good friends with Declan Bonner, so that's just I thought that was a natural in there for him, and he's obviously still hungry for the intercounty scene and training and coaching, so he went for it.
So you're playing up here at St. Vincent's, of course, still. You'd have a close enough eye on Dublin club football and how strong that is. Is there anything about the intercounty team under Jim Gavin where you're thinking they're a bit weaker this year than last year, or is it 5 in a row all the way?
Jeez, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to see anything different. A bit. The only thing that's going to get them is complacency. It's very hard. like them boys have 5-6 on the middles, and it's a question of hunger then, and he's been very good. Saying like 16 in the All-Ireland final, Jim, for the replay, he dropped 3 or 4 lads, like, and 3 mainstays, because he knew if he didn't, he was in trouble. And he's very good at rejuvenating his team, his squad. If someone is not pulling the weight, or if their standards have dropped, they're gone. Simple as that. And you can't rest on your laurels. Look, like Bernard Brogan hasn't really played for the last couple of years. Reputation is out the window there, and that's when you're successful. I'm afraid that has to be the culture. It's now, what can you do in the present, not the past. That's finished. What can you do now?
Did you watch the Meath?
I did.
What did you make of that?
Do you know what? I had a bet on with one of the boys, with Nathan Mullins, that I thought Meath would come a lot closer to them, but obviously I was wrong. But
how close did you think?
I said 8 points or under, which I thought was respectable.
Seemed reasonable before.
Seemed reasonable, like.
And reasonable at half time.
Yeah, but like, in fairness to Meath, they had a lot of wides, and like, if they got in that situation in an Leinster final, that was the first time in, let's say, 9 years that none of them players were in a Leinster final before. So it was a big occasion. So they needed that first 15 minutes to go well. Get yourself in a game. Get yourself on the scoreboard. The free taker missed a couple of frees. Everyone got edgy. People taking wild shots that they wouldn't usually take. And they use so much energy up in that first half, chasing. Like in the second half, there you could see it at halftime. They were done. They were done. Like, so. Dublin just have that cuteness, as in they have a structure in their defence and attack where they all play to the same system. They know exactly, it's a scenario-based game now at this stage, where if a ball is at one side of the pitch, they know where that ball is going to come in the next 30 seconds.
So there are set patterns already.
There is, like, and that comes with obviously training ground coaching and that comes with years of development. And Gavin has brought that in since the Donegal debacle in 14, where they were caught on the hop, and he made sure that wouldn't happen again.
Is there any team outside of, let's say, obviously Dublin are clear favourites, is there any team coming through the qualifiers this weekend? So Meath have Clare, but you feel like Meath would be an also-ran at this stage. Cork did well in the Munster final, but then again, no one really thinks Kerry are necessarily going to beat Dublin. Is there any team coming from the pack?
Everyone's saying Donegal, and Tyrone looked a bit better, but
but Tyrone, actually, when they pressed up a bit more on Donegal, had a bit more of an attacking game plan, a bit more ambitious. It was exposed massively, and again, everything comes back to, well, imagine what Dublin would do to that. Yeah,
well, see, I watched that Donegal and Tyrone game, actually. It was weird to watch, because it was like Tyrone didn't talk about it before the game. As in, it was very obvious that McShane was having a brilliant league and he was in full forward, and that's what they're trying to do, get as much ball. Like, Tyrone turned from a running team into a kick passing team, like kicking long into McShane, and Donegal just put two sweepers back, and it's like Tyrone just couldn't adapt and couldn't, like, it was the most obvious tactic that was going to come about, but it was yet Mickey Hart didn't think, they wouldn't do that. So once McShane was a non-event, non-factor, Tyrone was just lost for ideas and they couldn't adapt. Which was which is unusual, because they had the running game for years up to that, and they couldn't seem to revert back to that.
Well, they seem to have done so in the meantime.
Yeah.
They're putting weaker teams to the sword in the qualifiers. Yeah. But is it going to be good enough in the long run? Again, going back to the old game plan that was blown away in last year's final.
Blown away, yeah. But I think the fact that, well, see, I don't think they got the balance right against Donegal. I think they're kicking too much. Now, if there's a balance where you kick, 2 and 5 into McShane and you're running the rest of the time, well, then the sweepers can't sit back. They have to push out and try and stop them runners coming through. If the running game is getting you scores and McShane is a non-event, well, you don't mind, because we'll say if there's a double sweeper back in front of McShane, well, there should be 2 free guys coming through the centre or coming up the wings getting them scores for you. So it's a bit of cat and mouse, as in, like, if the full forward isn't working for you, well, you have to revert back to your running game.
Can you see Roscommon getting much further? Like, they were fairly much blown away in the Super 8s last year.
Yeah, I think they've improved. Like, I think are they in the top 5 or 6 in the country? Maybe top 7.